Now we are going to start recording, and in this session we are gonna, or in this video recording, we are going to talk about 1.4, 1.5 and 1.6, and we are going to pause between each subtopic of the scene management to answer your question if you have any questions that you want. So first of all, modify the properties of one or more objects. So basically, let me just go and maximize this one here, and I'm gonna create a cylinder or box, and we are gonna set the length and width, and then release and set the height. So basically, how to change the parameters or the properties of an object. You see, till now the object is still selected. I'm still in the object creation mode. How do I know that? You see this box button here is still highlighted. Since this box is still highlighted, you can directly from here change the values, as you can see here. Okay, and you might say why I cannot see it, because we might need to press F4 to overlay the wireframe over the standard shading. I'm gonna just make it a little bit less so you can have a look to them. But when you right click, you will cancel the box creation mode, and you see that this box here is not highlighted anymore. So now if you want to change the properties of any object, I mean this applies to all objects, students, whether it's a 3D primitives, compound object, 2D shape, light, camera, helper, space swaps, anything, bone, whatever. You go to the modify panel. You see here the modify panel where you see the box in this modify stack. Why it's called a stack? Because when you add modifiers, they're going to be stacked over each other. And here now you can see the parameters. You might wonder, but when I was here, there might be more parameters in the creation on the create panel. Yes, some parameters you can set only when you create the object. Some, not all of them, can be modified later on. So this is why the modify panel displays only the objects properties that you can change. Okay, not all the properties, only the object properties that you can change. So here I can change the width, the length, the width and the height, and of course the segments I can just set 5 and then 5 and then 5 using these spinners. I can right click to go to the minimum possible value of this, but I'm gonna just stick to 555. So you can see the difference between wireframe mode and default shading, and overlaying the wireframe mode over the default shading, which is called edged faces. Okay, any object you click it, the color is changing to white. If you deselect it by clicking anywhere outside, you're going to be able to see it in its color, which is this one, the blue one here. Because you might ask, but it seems that red. No, this is the default or the last selected color that I used, but this object is blue. Okay, now to move the object, you need to select and move, select and rotate, select and scale, or you can use the shortcuts W for move, E for rotate, R for scale. So you see I can just select W and then I'm gonna move it. And when you move it, you need to make sure, or you need to pay attention to the gizmo controllers here. You see you have X, so you are going to move only around X. You cannot move along Y. When you move over the Y, you can only move along Y. If you try to move it along X, you will not succeed, and Z as well. If you need a combination, you need to go and from here select all of them, or only X and Z, or only X and Y, no Z, and so on and so forth. I'm going to just right click this, and right click this, and make this in the center. And from the display, I will go to effect pivot only, and then I will center it to my object, so it will be centered. Now, if you go here, as I told you, usually I like this preview here let me just go back. Now I will go to this preview. طبعا sorry, not this one. Let me delete the tab. I will go to this one here. Yeah, this is what I like. You see, it's going to be centered along all the objects and all views. We are going to learn what's the benefit of this shortly in this lecture, inshallah. So this is how we change the values of the object. So how can we locate if this value is animated or not? So let me just make a very simple animation. Let me just make this 10 10 10 and only one segment, no need to do more than one segment. I'm gonna just select auto key mode and go and move this, and then I'm gonna just change the width to that side. So you see, any animated parameter property is gonna be bordered with red. You see now when you select the object, this gives me an indication that this is a red. So this is a value. This value is animated. Let me turn off the auto key mode. And now this value here and this value here is the value of the keyframes of my animation. طبعا you should be familiar with the keyframe concept or keyframing concept since you already finished After Effects course, Adobe Animate course, and so on and so forth. So how can we change the value of this animated keyframes? Actually, I can just go to this keyframe here, select, and say I want it to be not 34, I want it to be 20 only. It's gonna update. Okay. The other way of doing this, you go to graphic editors and you go to DOP sheet, and you see I'll go to the box, expand, transform, and object. This is the width. You see these are the transform, position, rotation, scale, and this is the width. And when, let me just move this, you go to the width, you see when you right click, the value is 20. You can just change it to anything you want. I'm going to change it to 40, and you will see that this is going to change as well. Okay, I will just minimize this. Okay, let me just move it, change the size of it to be like this. Okay, you see now it is bigger. If you right click it, sorry, again, let me go to the object. This is the width. Right click, I'm gonna make it 50. It will change. So this is how you locate and change the value of animated object. Or if you don't want to use this, and this will be discussed in more detail in the animation section, you can just automatically change it from here. Just you need to remember one thing, and this also was clearly indicated in Adobe Animate and Adobe After Effects courses. When you do this, you need to make sure that you are on the exact keyframe, not one frame after or one frame before, because one frame after or one frame before will create a new keyframe. So for example, if I'm here and the auto key mode, of course, if the auto key mode is still there, you change it, you see this is going to be a different keyframe. Okay, anyway, this is just to demonstrate how to change the value of an animated property. We are not gonna talk more about animation, because anyway, as you can see here, or if you saw in your course materials, there is a dedicated section for animation, which is section number 7, where we're gonna learn a lot about animations. Actually, let me go back here. Okay, let me focus on this. Now, how we change multiple objects properties. First of all, let me just go to File, Reset, and no need to save. I'm gonna reset everything. Okay, so I will create a box. and I will create a sphere. So now can we change the values of, so when you select the sphere, you can go to modify, you change the values, no problem. When you click the box, you go to the values, you change them, no problem. But what if you select both of them? Can we change them at the same time? No, you cannot change them at the same time. So you cannot change values of objects properties at the same time. So you might wonder, but because they are different types, any sphere and box, if they are same type, you can do it. Let me show you that the better way to answer it is to show it to you practically. So now I'm selecting two spheres. I will go here. You see, you cannot see any properties, but when you click, you're going to see the properties that you can change in your object. Okay. So then how here they say changing multiple object properties. You see, they say may include being able to differentiate between instance, copy, and references. So to do this, we need to talk about how to make duplicates in 3D Studio Max, how to make copy paste, how to copy paste objects in a 3D Studio Max. So I'm gonna just maximize this, or again I will go to my preferences here. So I will just delete this, and I will delete this, and let me just change the segments to 5 and press F4 to be edged faces. So now how to create a copy in 3D Studio Max. Usually you press Ctrl C and then Ctrl V, and you will create a copy. Actually I created a camera as well because I pressed C. Anyway, you select this, you press Ctrl C and then Control, let me just Control C will create a camera. So what we are going to do, just Control V, just Control V. There is no need for Control C. See, my bad. This is when you get confused between applications. In 3D Studio Max, you don't need to do Control C, you just do Control V. And this is basically because there is no copy paste. There is a clone option here. The clone will just copy the object, and the new copy will be exactly the same, located at the same position as the new object. But you're going to have three types to select from. The object, do you need to create a copy? Do you need to create an instance? Or do you need to create a reference? So to demonstrate, we're going to select each one of them at the same, each one of them at a time, or each option at a time. But you see when I click OK, you are not seeing the other object because it's exactly the same location. So you need to select and then move. So usually this is not my preferred way to do copy in 3D Studio Max. So you might say what you are doing then. I use the shortcut. Any object you select, if you press and hold shift and you do any transformation, this is going to create a copy. And the nice thing about this tool is when you move an object, you see I'm pressing and holding shift, you are to create a copy, right? When you release, you're going to have the same window plus how many copies you want to create. And the difference, or the distance, this distance between the first and the second copy will be applied to all other copies. So you see I want 5 copies. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have the original and 5 extra copies. This is if you have move. But what if you have rotation? You see, can you do it with rotation? Of course. You see, I can do this and I say I want to create 5 copies or 6 copies. This is going to be created. Okay, with the scale, is it going to work with the scale? Yeah, sure, it's going to work, but let me just go and press F3 so you can see the object. So now I'm going to just scale it, and let's scale it in all directions. Press and hold shift and the scale, and let me create 2 extra, or 3, 6 too much, 3 extra copies. You see, you have 3 extra copies. And how this is useful if they are located in the same location, basically rotation and the scale, they are affected by the anchor point or the center of the object. So if the center is not located in the center of object, it's not going to be created like this. We are going to demonstrate this shortly, inshallah. But now let's just focus on one thing, which is creating a copy and the difference between the copy, instance, and reference. So first of all, I will create a normal copy. Okay, I will just move this here and create a copy. Now if you go to the copy and change anything, the original will not be affected. If you go and add a modifier like bend and you change it, the original will not be affected, right? Okay, this is the copy. Did we select the copy or an instance? Actually, we selected a copy. So now we are going to select an instance, and this time I'll select 2 copies, let's say. Okay, so these 2 things, or these 2 objects, are instances of this object here. So I'm going to change the color to something else. Okay, let me just press the F4 like this. So now this is a copy of this, but these 2 are instances of this. So what's the difference? So let me go here. Let me press F4 again and go to the box and change the segments. You see what's happening? So this is how we can change the properties of an object, or objects' properties at the same time. So if they are an instance, all of them will be affected. What if I change this? Not this one, this one. Is it going to be the same thing? You go to the box, it's going to be the same thing. What if I go here and change? Is it going to be the same thing? Yeah, exactly, because they are instances from each other. So any edit you do to one object, to one instance, the other object will be affected. This applies to modifier as well? Sure. So if I go here, or let's say here, I go to the bend, I bend it, you see, it will bend all together, but I need just to increase the segments to 10 and 10 and 10. So now when you go here to the bend, you see, they're gonna bend all together. And in some advertisements, you see this happens. They have several buildings or characters dancing together, or fishes just like moving together, like movies like Finding Nemo. They are not going to animate 100 fishes separately. So they are going to make instances, for example, and one object will have the edit and all object will apply, or the edit will reflect in all other objects. So this is the, let's say, the instance. So what about reference now? What about reference? I mean, how do you differentiate between the normal copy and the instance? You see, the copy is regular box typing, not bold, I mean. But the others, you see, they are bold. They are not like this. Even if there is no bend. So what if you remove bend? It's going to be removed from all? Yes, as simple as that. You don't need to delete the bend from all of them. You just add once and all will reflect. So now I will click this and I will shift and, sorry, I need to shift, then move, not the reverse, not the vice versa. And you cannot move, then press shift. This will not create a copy. You need to press shift and then move. And this time I will create a reference. So what this is gonna do, you see here, there is a borderline separating things. So let me go to the box and change. Okay, everything will change. So why they are affected? Because this is affected and this will affect the rest. So now what if I go here and change? All will change as well. So let's come to this and add a bend modifier. So this bend modifier is added over the line, you see? It's added where? Over the line. So now let me change the bend and see. You see? Only this object is affected. So this is why we have a line. Anything above the line will affect only the reference object. Anything below the line will affect all other objects. So how this could be useful, for example, I'm going to add another one. Let's taper. Let's select taper, and I'm going to just make the taper below the line. You see, they are all affected by the taper. Okay, so now when we increase and decrease the taper, increase the curvature, you see how it becomes? All of them are affected. Okay, let me go to this bend and remove it. Oops, sorry, I pressed delete from the keyboard. Delete will delete the object. I need to remove it from here. So now I will go here and add a twist. The twist will be above. Now when I twist this, only this will be twisted. You see, not all of them. So the taper affected all the copies, while the twist affected only the reference. So basically, this is how reference could be useful. You can use it to apply, let's say, modifiers that affects only the reference or references, while the original copy or copies, they are not affected. So this is the difference between copy, instance, and reference. And the best way to make sure that you understand all of them after you see the recording, you need, just like I did, to go and try them yourself. Do a copy, normal copy, and then do an instance and try changing the object values and the object modifier parameters, and then go and check the reference as well. So you have three types of cloning in 3D Studio Max. The first one is the copy, normal copy, and then instance, and then reference. Okay, so this is basically everything that you need to know about changing multiple objects properties that we did. But again, to do this, you need to understand the difference between instance, copy, and references. And at this point, we are done with 1.4, and we are ready to go to the object transformations, which is very important. And we're going to talk about A, B, C, and D. But after we take a small break, so I will pause the recording and I'll give you a small break. And if you have any questions, you can ask. We discuss them, and then when we finish, we can resume the recording again. See you soon. So now we are back with the section 1.5, manipulating objects transformation. In the first topic, we are going to learn how to transform tool, or how to transform in a 3D Studio Max actually. So let me now go to the full screen. I will reset everything right now. No need to save. Are you sure you want to reset? Yes, I should have just deleted it anyway. No problem. So now I will create the sphere. There is another way to create object in a 3D Studio Max actually. The easiest way that we learned how to do is by clicking and dragging like this. But anyway, you can do it using the keyboard shortcuts or using the keyboard entry actually. So how is this? You see, I can go to the keyboard entry here. I say I want to create a sphere in 0, 0, 0 coordinates, x, y, and z, which is this one here. And I want the radius to be 50. And then you press create. You see, this is your circle. You might need to decrease it, but you cannot do it from here, not from the keyboard entry. You need to do it from here, since the sphere is still selected. If it is deselected, like when you right click or when you create another sphere, you need to go to the modify panel, go to the sphere and select this one here, Alt F4. So how do we transform objects? First of all, I will delete the sphere and create a cylinder actually, and show you how to transform. You remember when we said a while ago, we have here move and select, rotate and select, scale and select, or select and scale, rotate, move. All of these, they involve using this gizmo, animation gizmo, which represents X, Y, and Z, or Z, which is represented in three colors, RGB for simplicity. So if you move over the X, you are going to move along X only, along Y only, along Z only, all of them, X and Y only, you cannot go up, or X and Z only, you cannot use Y, and Y and Z as well without using X. Now, for example, what if I want to go back to the center? It's going to be very difficult actually just to move it back here to the center. Okay, I will not be able to make it directly on the center. What you can do is you can go down here and just write 0, 0, 0 for the position. You see, I will just write 0, 0, and 0 for the position. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can right click this move tool. When you right click this move tool, and this is actually what this meant by use the transform tools for precision transformation. Precision means very accurate, yani by numbers, by exactly. So I'm gonna say I want to move this to 100, 0, 0. You see, it will move to 100. Okay, if you make it 0, it will come to here. You see, it will come to here. So what's the difference between the offset and the absolute? You see, let's say I want to move it to 10. When I say offset 10, it will add to it. 10, this is why after you press enter, the value gets 0 again. It will reset. You see, I want to add 10 again. I want to add 10 again. It will add. But when you go here and write 10, this will go back to the 10 value. Exactly. So in other words, the absolute always starts from 0, 0, 0, which is this one here. Okay, while offset will add the value to the value of the object at that time. So now it is 0. So when I make it 10, it will move to the 10. So now it is 10, you see? But when I add another 50, it will move to, you see here, 60. And this applies to all different coordinates, X, Y, and Z. So you see, I can offset the Y by adding some values, okay? However, if I do like this will just return Y to this original line, okay? So with a little bit of practicing, not too much, you will understand them better and you will use them. They are very useful when you need anyway, again, when you need a precision transformation, when you need to be very precise. Sometimes some students tell me why I need to do this, and it's not that very important. I can just move it myself. As I said, okay, you can just move it yourself like this if this position is not very important and this is only for visualization purposes. But what if you are doing an engineering project and you need the positions and different things to be very, very accurate? This way, and this time the precision tool, the precision tools will be very important. This applies only to rotation. You see, I can rotate like this. And this is going to tell me that you see the 126 and the rotation values, and down there it represents the rotation. And these values represents what you are selecting here. When you could say, but I can use the snap to be a little bit more accurate. The snap tool, which is also available in 3dsMax, that we already learned in 3D in many applications like Photoshop, Illustrator, also Dreamweaver actually sometimes. Animate, but actually I can use even something more precise like this. I'm gonna say I want to just offset this one by 45 degrees rotation. You see, so now this is a 45-degree rotation exactly. If you make it another 45, it's going to be 90 degrees. You see, 90 degrees. This might be very difficult to get without snap, of course. If you have a snap, it is easier, but the snap always snaps between integer values, like every 10 values, every 5 values, every 100 values. What if I want the value to be 35.654, like this? How you will be able to get this value? It's very difficult, right? Of course. So again, you can use the mouse if you just need to rotate, scale, and move. If you want to be precise, you need to use this tool, and you might be asked about this in the exam, how to use this precision values for transformation. And when we say transformation, students, you should know this, we mean scale, move, and rotate. So now I'm gonna just set it to 0 one more time. Now we will go to the scale. For the scale, you see when you scale it, all coordinates or all dimensions, it will be scaled uniformly, but you can scale only X, you can scale only Y, and you can scale only Z, or you can scale any two combination like X and Y. You see, I can scale X and Y without scaling Z, and then I can scale Z, and now you see I can just do it like a tank. You increase the segments sides, actually, you see it will be smoother. Very nice. So this is an object. So it's object just like the clay modeling. When you do modeling in 3dsMax, just like a clay modeling, if you have imagination, you can form your object as you want with several modeling tools which are available here, and we are going to talk about them in the modeling section, inshallah. So basically, this is the first topic, use the transform tools for precision transformations. We learned how to use them for two things, normal transformation and actually precise transformation. When you have this small triangle white one, it means you click and drag, you're gonna have, you see, all of them. This is uniform scale, this is non-uniform scale, and what about the last one? Let me show you, but let me go back to the original. Sorry, we just select this rotation and click 0, 0, and 0. So when you go, this is non-uniform and this is uniform. What about the last one? You see, this is select and squash. What select and squash means? Means, for example, if I selected Z, I changed it. If you reduce Z, X and Y will increase. If you increase Z, X and Y will increase to keep the volume the same. Okay, and this will apply to other sides as well. So if you change Y and Z, Y and X, you see Z will decrease automatically. When you make it thinner, it will be taller automatically. This is one of the animation principles that you should learn in 271 course, which is animation, Adobe Animate. This squash animation principle. Okay, any questions? I guess everything we will actually we will listen to your questions, sorry, after we pause the recording. So now you have uniform, non-uniform, squash. Okay, so now the other thing is, or the other topics we are gonna take, or we are gonna explain, are the transform multiple objects using the align tool, and the array tool and the mirror tool. We are gonna leave the array to the end, and we are gonna start with the align tool. Okay, so this is called squash and stretch animation principle. So I'm gonna just create a box like this. You can press S for snap, you see it will snap, and I will create this, and I will create another box a little bit smaller like this. Okay, fine. So I will just move this to 2. Oh, no need, actually. Let's just keep them like this. And now what if, let me press S again to deactivate the snap. What if I want to align these objects together? So for example, I just move this somewhere here. Okay, I want them just align, just like you use even in Microsoft Word. Okay, but here it's a little bit more powerful. So to see the align and to see the effect of the align, we need to go to 4 views, and I'm gonna just align them all, or fit them all on screen. Now I will select the first object and I will go to this here. This is called align, you see, and I will align to the other object. So now in align box or window, you can select, you need to align the position using all objects, all coordinates. You see X, Y, and Z. You see how it becomes perfectly aligned to it. And if you do this, what is the reference you want to use? So center to center, or minimum to minimum, you see, or maximum to maximum, or pivot to pivot. By default, the center and the pivot are the same, but you can change this when you change your pivot point. Okay, should they be same both of them? No, of course. You see, you can align the minimum to the minimum, so the minimum to the maximum. The minimum is the first point. You see when you click the mouse and start dragging to set the width and length, the first point you selected is the minimum, and the last point you will select is the maximum. So let's continue. Sorry for the interruption. So this is what I was saying. So you can align the current to the current object minimum to the target object maximum. طبعا the current object is the object that you selected first, and the object that you clicked next هو التارجت. فيعني هذا الكرنت وهذا التارجت. نقدر بالعكس شوفوا الماكسيمم to the minimum. فهاي آخر نقطة وهاي أول نقطة سويتها. تذكرون you remember when I draw I clicked and dragged. And of course you can align the orientation and the scale as well. So you see you can match the scale of all of them, and this will apply. And you might say why the scale didn't match. Actually, let me just go like this. Apply. You match the scale, not the size. I didn't scale. I didn't do any scaling yet, right? So what do I mean then by scaling? Let me show you now. I will cancel everything. Let me delete this, and I'm going to create a copy of this object here. So I will create a copy, a normal copy actually, and I will go to the non-uniform. طبعا you can select uniform and then you just select it from here. I'm going to just move it like this and like this and like this. So now what I will do, I will select this one here and I will align it with that. But you see, I'm not going to select any position. I will just go for the scale. I can match it with the X scale. I can match it with the Y scale. And you see, you can see it. Sorry, let's just see it from there. So it will be now it will be more clear. You see, this is Y and this is X when this meets this, and this is basically Z when all of them the same time. Or I can do them all, and then I will align the positions, and you see they are be identical. And this applies also to the orientation. So this is how align works. It's very, very powerful tool, very useful tool. Although you can use snapping to move it to them, especially with move. You see, you can press S and you say, okay, I will move it like this. They will be aligned together. طبعا if this is already aligned, and you see, let me just go to 0, 0, 0. Okay. So, and this, we can go also to 0, 0, 0. You can move this, and then I can snap it with it using the snap. But align is much faster, much more powerful. It provides you with several extra options that might not be available with the normal snap. So this is the align. The next tool to select, let me just turn off the snap, which is this one here. The next tool is the array, but before the array, let me go to the mirror tool. The array, I'm not going to leave it to the end. So the mirror, as the name implies, it will create a mirror copy of the object. I'm going to use the teapot. Why? Because it has different side, let's say, shapes. So now when I go to the mirror, you see this is the mirror here. When you click, you're going to have this. By default, it will mirror. So when you mirror, you see you have axis and you have the clone selection. Okay, so the clone selection by default, no clone. You can make a copy and you can make instance and you can make a reference. Now you understand the differences, the difference between each one of those. So let's stick to the copy. You see now I have two copies of them, but you can change the offset. You see, you can change the offset in order to create a perfect mirror. You see, you can, this is why I view all of them. So now you have the mirror. It depends. I mean, you can increase the offset. It depends on the mirror location to simulate that you are standing directly next to the mirror or you are away from the mirror. You see, you can change the offset. You can mirror them along X. You can mirror them along Y. You see, they will reflect, or you can mirror them along X. Along Z. And this is, you see, it's just like a reflection. And then you can change the transparency or the opacity of the object. Or you can make combination of two axes at the same time, two axes at the same time. You see, X and Y. Let's increase the offset. You see, or Y and Z, or X and Z. And let me just make the offset here. So when I press OK, sorry, you see, how nice is this? They are mirrored along Z and then along X, or along X then along Z. It makes no difference actually. Okay. So the mirror is fairly simple, yet very, very useful. Okay. So now, the last one, the array. So what can we do with the array? As the name implies, if you want to do more copies, you probably are not going to use a shift and move, although you can do this. But you're going to create an array. And at the beginning, I'm going to just create a cube, a small one. And then I will go to the array. Where is the array here? We don't have shortcut for the array. Actually, we used to have. When you change the workspace, you will have. But anyway, you can go to tools. And I will go to array here. Oops, the array is disabled. Why is that? Of course, because the object is not selected. So you need to exit the creation mode, make sure that the object is selected. You either see it, it's white, it's wireframe color, which should be white, or you see it shaded here, or you see its name here, it's selected. So I go to the tools and then array. So this is the icon of the array. When you click, you're gonna see, we're gonna have this array dialog box. It seems a bit complicated, but it's not. So you see you have one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and three-dimensional array. So by default, I have 10 counts. So do I have now 10 objects? Let's go preview. So do we have 10 objects? Yes, we have. You see? 10 objects. Where are they? Just like the clone object, the clone command. By default, they are located all the same location. So you need to transform them. So how I'm going to do this? You see this here, the array transformation. It's incremental or totals. I'm going to demonstrate the difference. So if you go to the incremental, I'm going to just increment the value of X by, let's say, 18, 19, maybe 15, or even 10 will work. No, 10 is a little bit low number, so I'm going to just go to 20. 10 is too much, 5 is enough. So you see, this is the count. So the total, not like the copy, how many copies you want to create. So when you say 5 copies, you're going to have 6 total. No, here, the total array count is going to be 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Can we move it or increment it along Y? Yes, sure. This is the rotation. This is the move, rotation, and scale. Of course, you see I can go through along Y as well. Can I go along Z? Yep, you can go along Z. And you see they are all displayed in all views. Maybe here it's not very clear actually. I should have zoomed out a little bit. Now this is the incremental. What about the total? What if you click this and turn on the totals? Here, if you say I want the total X increments to be 34, يعني it's gonna reach here 34, you see? Otherwise, let me just create 100 and show you what do I mean. So now it's 100. If you want to see it on live preview, you need to click or to press this preview. You see here? So all these are 100. Now remember the location of this. If I go back like here and select 100, you see the first one will be here, 100 as well. So the total distance is 100, or the incremental distance is 100. This is the difference. So again, when I go move here, so you see this is the total distance now. How much? 500, because 100 plus 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 is going to be 500. If I go back, I make it 100. You see now the incremental is 20. Why is 20? Because they are 5. So simple math, 100 divided by 5 equals 20, or 20 multiplied by 5 equals 100, and so on. So this is the first dimensional array. What about second dimensional array? But before we jump to the second dimensional array and so on, let me go back to the incremental and let me change the rotation. You see when you change the rotation, how nice is this? Okay. And why they become like this? Because the pivot point is not in the center. So I will undo, I will go here, affect pivot point, center everything, and I'm gonna just zoom out all of them, and I'm gonna just move this. That's it. Let me go back to the array from tools, array, and I'm gonna just make the count 5 copies, and you can let me preview. Actually, I'm gonna make this 20 like before. Now when you change the rotation, you see it's not affected like before. So let me just make it 45. So you see 45 degrees, then 90 degrees, then. Okay. You can طبعا of course rotate them in all different directions that you want. You see? And you can also do the titles, the total, sorry. You might say I want them to be 360 degrees, the total. So the 3dsMax will divide them equally between this or along the whole value. So it's going to be 72 for each copy. Okay, so you see it will be 360 degrees. Now this will also apply to the scale, of course. Yes, you see I can scale this 110. So each copy will be scaled 110. Okay, طبعا you can make it uniform, so they will be scaled uniformly. So you see, let me first get it back to 100, then 100, and then now I will make them uniform, and you see they will be turned off, and I will just increase them like this. Okay, you can of course just make the distance bigger, or even you can make it smaller. Okay, and this is what you can do with array. So let me go back to 100%, and this is 20. And now let's just jump to two-dimensional array. So now I want to have 2 copies. You see, again they are exactly at the same location, so you need to increment the row offset. I'm not going to increment it along x, I'm going to increment them along y. You see, I'm just going to make 20. You see, they're going to be like that. You can create as many copies as you want. Okay, imagine there are buildings and you want to create buildings, and these are all objects. Now if the scene is very complex, or if the model that you are making array of are complex, not like a very simple box like a fish or like a dinosaur, you just can check this on to display them as boxes, and they're going to be displayed as bounding boxes just to let's say, save your memory resources and make the view much more faster. But there is no need for this now. What about the three-dimensional array? Can I do this? Yeah, but I'm gonna increase it now along Z. So I'm gonna make 20. Nothing changed because the total count is 1. Now when you make them 2, you see 3, 4, and 5. And you see now we are having a matrix. Oops, not 1, 5. Sorry, what's happening? I'm not sure about this. 5, 5, 5. Okay. So when you can reset all parameters, I'm not going to do this. You see now, I have an array of objects. You can go wireframe, and you're going to see them. You have 5 by 5 by 5. You have too many objects. Okay. How much they are? 5 by 5, 5 by 5, 25, 25 by 5. 125, right? Yep. Again, F3, 4, F3. So you see how the array, how nice is the array? Okay. Let's go back. And let me go to array again one more time. And you're gonna see this. Now you can, let me go to the preview. And oops, what's this? One-dimensional array. And I will do the following. Actually, you see now different type of different array, starting also from this. Okay, so I can now select this one here and go to tools, array, and simply create an array. Preview, you see, just like this, or just like this. And you see you can create any model. So this looks like what? An F letter, but we just need to go and get rid of those, and you have an F. You see? So this is how array works: align and mirror. What else do we have? The last one, how to change the viewport display shading lights and how to determine the poly count. So how do we know how many polygonal objects do we have in the viewport? Actually, let me just undo so I get back to this large number of objects. You see here, when you go to the plus, you can go to the configure viewport, and from the statistics you can display which value you want to display. So this is the polygonal count, this is the poly count. I can also display the vertex count and the frames per second. Now I will show the statistics in active viewport. Apply, you see, these are the totals. You want to display the total of the polygonal selection or total plus selection. You can display the total plus selection. So now you have, I have nothing selected yet. So totally I have 6,288 polygons and 3,000 and شوية فكة أو خردة vertices, right? And this is the frame, the FPS. Now when I select, I have 48 selected, and this is box 26. This is the name. When I select all these, I have 5,000 selected. If I delete, you see now the total reduced to much lower value. See how many you have now? And this is 11 frames per second. When you move, the animation speed. And this is basically not that very important for us now, because we have no animation and we are only interested in the values here. I can set all these things on as well. So I'm gonna have how many edges, and you can يعني test it yourself. So you see now, let me select only this. White has 45 polygons and 45 edges, and let me just go to this one here. You see now it has only eight vertices, 1 2 3 4. Let me go to the wireframe. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 8 edges. What else? 8 vertices, sorry, 18 edges. Okay, 1 2 3 4, 4 plus 4, 4 4. Okay, actually not 4, 4 plus 4, and then less from here because this edge is already counted here. You cannot count it there as well. And also polygons and so on. Let's go back again. Statistics. This is a triangles. How many triangles? But you might say, what do you mean how many triangles? Basically triangles, because the polygons by default they are triangles like this. So let me just convert this to editable poly to let me show you what do I mean. You see, this is the face. It's actually the polygons is divided into two here by default. Okay, we are gonna take I'll talk about this when we talk about modeling and sub object things. Now let me just restart or reset to faster than changing the settings. Now we can go to the sphere. Okay, and this one here, the viewport shading and the viewport lighting, or lighting actually, it's from here. You see the standard. You can display it using standard mode, performance, high quality, and the lights and shadows. If you have lights and shadows, you can illuminate with default. You can illuminate with lights and shadows, and you can control the light scenes. And if you want to set the shadows on or off, you can do this as well. So all of these are created or changed from this, or from these menus here. This is the menu and this is the menu. Okay, you see you can go face facets, you can go bounding box, you can go for flat color, you can go for header line. What header line means, you see the back lines will not be visible, and this is if it's a standard actually. And you can go for clay, like clay modeling, and you can go for model assist, which is similar to the normal, or stylized, and you can go for any one of this. That's pastel. Okay, you see now the scene, it's just like you are using pastel to draw الباستيل يعني الوان باستيل اللي تستخدموها. It's gonna be an ink, you see, just like a color ink, and this is going to be, شوف الفرق بين هذه وهذه. Or actually you can just go and select another one like color ink. It's gonna be ink, like ink but colored. So far that's all you need. You should know in section 1, which is scene management. Okay, we covered last lecture the 1.2 till 1.3, and today's lecture we covered 1.4 up to 1.6. I'm gonna stop the recording, students, and if you have any questions you can leave them in the chat box, or you can ask me directly using a mic. Basically now it's time to take another break, another short break for 5 more minutes, and then you should start practicing what we explained, because if you don't, you're gonna forget it very quickly. Thank you very much, and we will see you inshallah in the next recording.